You might like berries as much as I do as soon as you hear about these great nutrients. They are rich in antioxidants, they lower cholesterol, and they are super high in fiber. And my dear friend Cassie, she wanted me to make a vegan, gluten-free pie because she says she messes it up every time. So this is for you, Cassie. Here we go. So first we're going to start with the filling of our vegan berry pie. We have 6 cups of berries, and then we're going to take 3/4 cup of coconut sugar and 1/4 cup of gluten-free flour, and we're going to mix it all together here and let it sit while we make our crust. So there's our coconut sugar, and this is gluten-free flour. We're just going to mix it up. Once it's all mixed, we're going to let it sit until we have our pie crust ready. Now it's time to make the crust. We're going to take 2 cups of gluten-free flour right here, and we're going to add 3/4 teaspoon of sea salt into it. And then we're going to use 2/3 cup of coconut oil. Make sure that it's solid, not liquid oil. We're going to put that in here, and we're going to smash it all together. You have to be patient, and you have to smash it until it's all crumbs. Once it's crumbs, we're going to then make it into a crust. Take your time and smash everything together. So what I've done is I have mixed this thoroughly to take out every coconut chunk until I get it crumbles all the way through. Now it's time to start adding our ice water, and you only add 1 tablespoon at a time until we get this solid. Do not add too much at once, and do not go over on the water. It's better under than over. So we add 1 tablespoon, and then we mix it and keep bringing it in and mixing it. So now you can see that as I kept adding 1 tablespoon of water at a time, it starts clumping all together, and I have no crumbs at the bottom, which is important, no loose crumbs. And you have to be able to get it all to stick. Because this is a coconut oil base, it's a little bit different, but we can still work with it. Now that you've got it all together like this, you're going to reach in, you're going to scoop it up, and you're going to take it out. You're going to mold it with your hands. Key to dough is not over handling it. What I found is the best way to work with this vegan pie dough is that I divide it 3/4 to 1/4 for the top. So here's my 1/4 for the top, and then I use 3/4 on the bottom. So we're going to take this, sprinkling flour, gluten-free flour on our board, spread it around, come back, get your ball of dough for the bottom of the pan, and you're going to start shaping it out, and then you're going to pat it down here. Once it's pat down, you're going to flip it over into more flour. Now we're ready to roll. I like to use these pastry sheets. Some people like cutting boards. Now you're just going to start gently rolling it side to side, corner to corner, until you can get a nice round. So I've got it rolled out, but the secret to working with a gluten-free flour is that you can't fold it like you would a regular pie crust. So I've discovered that if I take a bowl, and you see that I've already sized it to just larger than my pie pan, and then I cut around the bowl. I'm cutting a center, so I'm just using it as a measuring, and then what I do is I score it into smaller pieces, because that way we can pick it up in pieces and we can patch it once it gets in there. Okay. So this is the way I figured out how to do a gluten-free pie crust. and get it in there safely. So I'm going to lift out the center first, carefully. And set it in there. You can always do little finger pats. You don't want to smash it too hard, but finger pats to put it back together. Then we're going to take the pieces on the side here. I'm going to get a spatula to help me. So we can take our pieces and gently set them in there like a puzzle. A little overlap is okay. And you set the next piece. All right, so I pieced it in here, and you don't want to push too hard. You just want to patch it in and seal it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over and create a ridge on the edge here. And you're going to take these edges, and what you're going to do is you're going to smush them together. And we're going to create a little crust out of it. Like I said, this gluten-free flour is a little bit more difficult to work with, so you want to make sure that you kind of piece it together. So this is one part of it. I'm going to show you what it looks like once you get that together. You're going to pinch it. So pinch, pinch, pinch. Now I've finished this and it's ready to go with all the crust in place. I've patched the center. Don't be too rough, be gentle when you're patching. And then what I did is I rolled out the small piece for the top, and we're gonna set it in quarters after we put our filling. Let's get our filling in. So our filling has mixed with the coconut sugar and the gluten-free flour, and it's ready to have the top put on. So again, because it crumbles easily, I quartered it. I'm going to gently set it in place. Look at that, isn't that pretty? Now I want to make sure that this turns nice and golden brown. So now what we're doing is once we've placed these pieces on top, we're going to coat it with water and we're going to sprinkle it with coconut sugar so we can get a nice crystally top to our pie. I like to paint part of the edge here too so it comes together. Now we're going to take our coconut sugar and you're going to sprinkle it on top. Now this pie is ready to go in the oven. We've dampened the top with water. We sprinkled coconut sugar all over it, except for the crust. Now we're going to cover the crust with foil pieces to protect them. We're going to bake it at 425 for just 25 minutes with the foil. We remove the foil and bake it another 10 to 15 minutes without the foil. And then we'll have a delicious pie. Right before you put it in the oven, you're going to take small pieces of foil and you're going to crimp them over the edge like this, very carefully over the crust so it doesn't burn it. Just the last 10 to 15 minutes we take this off, and so we'll get a nice brown golden crust with a perfectly baked pie. Let's get this in the oven. So we've got our finished and cooled pie and we are ready to cut a piece. You can see how golden brown the crust is. This gluten-free crust is super tasty, but it's stiffer than the traditional crust. I like to use it to dip into the pie filling. You're going to cut a piece, cut it all the way through. We're going to dish this up. Look at how that filling has held together beautifully. The crust is beautiful. We're going to taste this. If you really want, you can go to my vegan whipped cream, put that on top, and this is amazing dessert. Let's taste it. My favorite part to taste this pie. The filling is delicious. It maintains the taste of the berries. That's what's so good about this. So nutritious, gluten-free, vegan berry pie. You gotta try it.